at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
Crime is already skyrocketing in 2026. Now, you may already own a firearm, but before you face the financial, the legal, the emotional weight of pulling that trigger, there is new technology, a smarter option. It's non-lethal. BYRNA.com. Berta makes less lethal launchers. It fires tear gas, pepper spray, kinetic rounds. It is designed to stop an attacker for up to 40 minutes. That gives you time to escape. That gives you time to get help without deadly consequences. Now, remember, it fires at 400 feet per second, and it has serious stopping power, enough to shut down a threat very fast without the legal, moral complexity of using lethal force. And every single launcher hand-assembled in beautiful Fort Wayne, Indiana. Legal in all 50 states, no background check, and they'll ship it straight to your door. Just go to BYRNA.com today and find the right launcher for you and your family. That's BYRNA.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
The following live program is sponsored by Breakthrough Ideas.
AM 560, The Answer. It's time for breaking news, expert insight, and informed commentary on what's happening in Springfield, Chicago, and beyond. Because an informed citizenry is the only way to protect our republic. It's time for The Real Story with Jeanne Ives and Amy Jacobson.
A busy Thursday here. Yes, and we have breaking news. Yep, it's supposed to be the start of early voting in many counties around the state of Illinois, but that has been delayed. There is still a pending court case on whether or not Severino will be on the Republican ballot. And so a number of counties, including the city of Chicago, Cook County, Kane County, DuPage County, these are large counties. In fact, they're the three largest counties in the state, and they have delayed early voting. And this happens as already military ballots were mailed out last Friday. They had to be mailed out in time for service members to get their ballots and have them returned by the election date.
That voice belongs to Jeanne Ives. I'm Amy Jacobson. This is the Real Story.
Yeah.
You can watch us on Breakthrough Ideas YouTube channel, AM 560's Facebook page. Call in 312-642-5600, or you could text us at that same line. I did not know. I mean, I kind of ran in here at the last minute today.
Yes,
so early voting is on pause.
In some counties. Now, I spoke with Matt Dietrich. He is the executive director with the Illinois State Board of Elections, and I spoke with him this morning, and they have on their website, of course, I had to point out that their website wasn't up to date. On their website, though, if you go to voter information and then you go to early voting and grace period voting in the middle section of that column, you can look at every single county and find out when they are starting early voting. Now, some counties are doing early voting today. Some of them are. Some of them were never going to start early voting today. They were going to start later. It is a county decision. But these large counties are delayed right now pending this decision because they don't want to print a bunch of ballots, have them destroyed, or have people vote. Those votes aren't, valid,
right,
or they're not. Don't have everybody's names on it, so they don't want to redo it. So some are delaying it a week, at least.
When in Chicago we start next month, but this is, it's February
5th. It's February 5th.
The election's March 17th. So the longer you keep something open, the more vulnerable it becomes. That's for voter fraud.
Of course.
And for multiple ballots.
Right.
And have you ever voted early?
And
I'd love to hear from people.
I always vote early now. I always vote early. I go in there, I secure my vote. I make sure nobody can use my name at all. And in fact, I probably would have voted today in DuPage County if they were open, but they're not.
They're not. Okay.
No.
312-642-5600. We'd love to hear from anybody who is going to early vote. Why? See, I'm a day of.
Well,
lady.
I used to be a day of, but I do find early voting it's good. I mean, you can lock in your vote and be done with it.
But how do you secure? But how do you secure to make sure that nobody else tries to vote under your name later on?
Well, for example, and this hasn't just happened. It happens frequently. People walk in and they're like, "You already voted." It happened to my son. He's like, "I didn't vote." He's like, "No, we have you marked down as you already voted."
When did that happen?
That happened actually when I was running for election. And so he had to put in a provisional ballot. Well, his name was already taken.
That's voter fraud.
Exactly. That's exactly what they do. They find voters who maybe don't, and he votes consistently. Somebody, either that or they marked it down incorrectly, whatever. But this is a frequent complaint. I walked in and they said I had already voted. I never voted. Wow. So if you want to secure your vote, you can do two things. You can request a vote by mail ballot. And if you don't like that system, you can bring that ballot into the Election Commission. You can surrender the ballot. They must mark it as spoiled, and then you can actually actively vote.
Oh, my God. 312-642-5600.
Your useful news for the day from Jeanne and Amy.
Hey, you know what? We need some help and guidance along the way. But thanks for bringing that breaking story to us, because that's, I mean...
So don't go to the polls, DuPage County, because nobody's going to be there.
No, they're not going to be open.
They're not.
What about mail-in ballots? Can you start mailing them in?
Well, that's the other thing. They're going to delay vote by mail ballots being sent out as well, because the early voting usually starts on the same day that vote by mail ballots are actually mailed to the voters, and obviously that's delayed in the counties that are, understandably concerned that perhaps Severino wins his challenge at the appellate court. I think that's going to be settled out within a week. The appellate court is the final decision on whether or not he is certified to be on the ballot. He was not certified to be on the ballot. He was found to not have sufficient number of adequate signatures to meet the threshold to be on the ballot. And so he was never put on the ballot by the State Board of Elections because the circuit court said he wasn't certified. So the State Board of Elections can't actually decertify him. The court told the State Board he is not He is not.
Who is this guy? I mean, is he a Democratic plant? Because I've been hearing rumblings that he was at Governor Pritzker's mansion in Springfield, and he gave him such and such amount of money.
The rumor mill around all of this is ridiculous. The point is that his challenge has held up early voting in a number of places.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Thank you for that update.
You
All right,
bet.
we're going to update the situation on Savannah Guthrie's mother, because last night I think I saw the saddest thing I've ever seen on television. It was so bad I felt like I was watching a movie, a documentary, or something just from a different planet, because she got with her brother and her sister, Annie. They were at Annie's house in Tucson, when she lives close to where her mother lives, and they made a plea to America.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She's funny, spunky, and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
And her sister Annie spoke as well.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances.
So I found out through my sources in Tucson that FBI hostage negotiators helped construct the letter. They humanized her at first. And they were saying, like, Mommy, Mama, we love you. We can't wait to hug you. Basically telling her to hang in there. You've got this. They were speaking as if they were speaking directly to her. But then they believe she's alive. And they're ready to negotiate. This is where it just got fascinating.
We, too, have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us.
And you know who reached out to her was President Trump. He said that he was going to call her the day before.
Have you been briefed on Savannah Guthrie's mom missing in Arizona?
I think it's terrible.
Would you commit to more federal agents like helping out on the search?
Sure, I would. I'm going to call her later on. I think it's a terrible thing. I always got along very good with Savannah. Very unusual situation, but we're going to find out.
So, and then he put on Truth Social, I spoke with the Savannah Guthrie and let her know that I'm directing all, in capitals, federal law enforcement to be at the families and local law enforcement's complete disposal immediately. We are deeply deploying all resources to get her mother home safely. The prayers of our nation are with her and her family. God bless and protect Nancy. President Donald J. Trump.
Well, I mean, I can appreciate him wanting to make a statement on this. It's a high profile, obviously kidnapping, potentially murder here. But you know what? In Chicago, you know what happened in Chicago yesterday afternoon? A man and a woman were shot in the car with their baby in the back seat. 3 people were seen running to the vehicle, firing at least 24 shots, and then they ran away and jumped in an Alfa Romeo. That's what happened. The woman died. The man was rushed to the hospital, and the baby was fine. But I mean, how come we're not? I don't know. Why aren't all the forces out there doing something about this?
Yeah, that's a point of contention. But I just think it's crazy because the left is now embracing Border Patrol agents. You know, ICE and Border Patrol bad. Now Border Patrol is helping out because they do an excellent job, Jeannie, of tracking people.
Is that what they said? They do an excellent job.
No, Border Patrol. I'm saying for me, they do an excellent job of tracking people in the desert. When it
I
comes
thought the lefties were saying that.
No. When it comes to, like they have a specific skill set.
Yes.
To help with this, with brush markings and trail markings. So, but it's just funny that now they're good because they're helping a Democrat, because I think Savannah does lean left.
Well, how about some federal forces helping solve this murder?
I know. And this is the scene yesterday. Okay, at 1:30, broad daylight. You get the picture.
Yeah,
So,
you get the picture.
Where are all the Kenilworth, Hinsdale wine moms?
I don't know.
From Lake Forest or Burr Ridge and Wilmette.
Well, Brandon Johnson, where are your violence interrupters? How about that parent mentoring money? How about mental health money? I mean, how about more green energy jobs? Is this what's going to solve it? Anyway, we got to get to break because we have a really great guest coming up next. Guess what? Pritzker wants to fund more of
Abortions.
Yes. And we'll talk to Mary Fiorito about that in the next segment.
The Real Story with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson.
Exposing the lies and the misinformation from the politicians and the media. This is The Real Story on AM 560. The Answer.
Why wait for spring to sell your house? You don't need to let the cold put your plans on ice. While everyone else is waiting for the snow to melt, Jeff Buys Your House is buying houses every single week, no matter how cold it gets. With Jeff Buys Your House, there's no hassle, no repairs, no cleaning, and no listing. We buy your house as is, and we can close on a timeline that works best for you, even if that means fast. Since 2007, homeowners all across Chicagoland have turned to us as their trusted source. Our veteran-owned team has earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB. That's proof you're working with a team you can depend on. We've been buying houses for nearly 2 decades and have made the home selling process easy and stress-free for hundreds of your neighbors. Don't let winter slow you down. If you've been thinking about selling, now is the perfect time. Call us at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or jeffbuysyourhouse.com and get your offer today.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results, done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com, and schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Does your company exhibit at trade shows? Are your show costs rising? Not getting the return you expected? At Old Salt Displays, we turn those challenges into opportunities. As a veteran-owned company in the Midwest, we know what it takes to stand out. Whether you need a pop-up banner or a complete custom environment, we've got the expertise to make your brand shine. We use American-made, modular, reusable displays to keep costs low and ensure faster fulfillment and on-time delivery. Big impact, small footprint. That's the Old Salt way. We do it all: design, creation, shipping, storage, and show services. From concept to convention floor, we handle everything so you can focus on what you do best: connecting with customers. Make your next show a success by calling Old Salt Displays at 920-226-8958. Again, that's 920-226-8958, or visit oldsaltdisplays.com. Your booth, your brand, done right.
If you're over 40 and plan to retire someday, the window to protect what you've built may be smaller than you realize. As retirement moves from someday to on the horizon, protecting what you've built becomes just as important as growing it. And that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. They help investors reduce risk by adding gold and silver to their portfolios. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult with your tax or financial professional before making investment decisions.
AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson. Did you know that the A word is not a dirty word, according to our governor, J.B. Pritzker?
Abortion is not a dirty word. It's a medical procedure. And when we make something shameful to say, we make it shameful to do. It's none of our business if an abortion is rare, as long as it's safe and legal.
Well, that's not where Bill Clinton was or Hillary Clinton.
Let's be honest about what we need to fight for when it comes to reproductive rights. I do not think that we should go back to a world where Roe v. Wade is the law of the land. With all due respect, Roe was great while it lasted, but it ultimately failed us. It didn't hold when we needed it the most. We need to pass a federal law that guarantees the right to an abortion. Full stop.
Oh my gosh, all the clapping seals behind him too. Well, listen, this is actually a big topic. I mean, the news just out is that Illinois is the national hub for abortion, and we're talking about abortion tourism. The state provides 23% of the abortions to out-of-state patients. And in Carbondale, Illinois, it's 90% of the abortions performed in their abortion clinics, which are brand new, by the way, since the Roe v. Wade thing in 22. Brand new. 90% of the abortions are from out of state. They do 14,000 abortions a year in a town that only has a population of 25,000. This is abortion tourism. Well, here to discuss all of that and more is Mary Fiorito. She is the Cardinal George Fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. She's also a lawyer certified to practice in the state of Illinois. And she's been affiliated with Aid for Women for a very long time. Mary, thanks so much for joining me on this show. And I'm sure that you also heard yesterday that Pritzker announced the creation of the Prairie State Access Fund, a public partnership with the Michael Reese Health Trust designed to expand reproductive health care amid mounting national restrictions. So he's doubling down on this. He's not backing away.
Oh, absolutely. He's a real abortion extremist. But thank you for having me on the show during your inaugural week. I'm so excited for both of you. I was just telling one of my friends, I feel like Kathy and Judy are back from WGN. Do you remember that during the day?
Oh, yes, we do. Yes.
20 years. My mom listened to Kathy and Judy while she was getting lunches ready or what have you. So I'm so glad that there's an authentically conservative women's voice out there now, and really excited for both of you.
Thank you. So where are we about abortion in the state of Illinois? I mean, there was a number of abortion laws passed last year. You've got the abortion doctor down at in the Champaign area, that Kendall Reisinger guy who left half of a fetus in the woman's body. That was a lawsuit. Looks like he got a slap on the wrist. I mean, just explain to our listeners how extreme Illinois is in these regards.
Yeah, well, that clip you played from Governor Pritzker, Jeannie, really does sort of set the stage perfectly. I mean, we are a state that has literally no limitations on abortion whatsoever. So we have now 2 clinics in the state of Illinois that advertise themselves as all trimester abortion clinics, And the marketing tagline for the one that opened in Chicago recently is, because your abortion should not be on anyone else's timeline. I mean, these are things that are so far outside. First of all, I mean, the American mainstream, the vast majority of Americans, even if they identify as pro-choice, most of them will say 6 to 12 weeks maximum. And, this is what Justice Sandra Day O'Connor said about Roe. She said, Roe versus Wade is on a collision course with itself because as the age of viability keeps getting pushed backwards and backwards and backwards. I mean, the smallest babies now being treated in hospitals like Loyola and Northwestern are born at between 21 and 22 weeks gestation. And so we know that those are viable, pain-capable babies. Again, we've done remarkable work in terms of neonatology. When you look, you look back or, around the time of Roe, not long beforehand, a lot of listeners who followed the Kennedy family will remember that Jackie Kennedy lost her youngest son, Patrick, who was born at 34 and a half weeks, and he died. I mean, I had a baby who was born at 34 weeks, and she went home from the hospital with me. It was a nothing burger. So we see that, this advancement in neonatal technology, neonatal surgery being done on babies as young as 16 weeks gestation. And we know that when those surgeries are done, there's 2 separate anesthesia teams, one for the baby and one for the mom, because the baby can feel pain. So, we have these incredible advances in science, and at the same time, like, you said the clapping seals, and, these women cheering for the deaths of viable, pain-capable babies. And so, this is really where Pritzker and so much of the Democratic Party in Illinois, Jeanne and Amy, are so out of step with what not only the regular American thinks, but the average Illinois voter thinks.
Well, how much money is thrown into that Prairie State Access Fund? Are we talking millions of tax dollars, or how much are we?
Well, I'll tell you this much. Planned Parenthood got themselves from J.B. Pritzker a $10 million grant just for operations. The clinic, the Equity Clinic in Champaign, where this butcher left half a fetus in a woman's body and sent her home to Indiana, where she had to present at an ER and nearly died. He got a $100,000 security grant for his clinic. And so we're spending lots of money on this, not to mention, and you know this, Mary, you have a presumption of eligibility when you walk into a Medicaid office and you present as pregnant. There's a presumption that you're eligible to receive services. And so I'm sure there are millions of dollars being spent on out-of-state women showing up to get an abortion in Illinois.
Right. So your taxpayer funds are going to not only pay for abortions for Illinois residents, but also abortions for women who come here from out of state. And, that presumed eligibility for pregnant women is a good thing, because we want a woman who's pregnant not to delay going for prenatal care.
That's right.
Not to, you want that was a very well-intended part of that law. But now it's being used in this very twisted way to justify publicly funded abortions for anyone who comes in. And we know that in throughout the country, the number of repeat abortions, so women having their second, third, fourth abortion even, it's now over 50%. So 50% of the women who are coming in for abortions have already had an abortion previously, some of them within the same calendar year. So it's not being used as sort of a stopgap in terms of, we had a dramatic change in our family, or a man walks out on his girlfriend or his wife. But they're being used as birth control, essentially.
Yep.
And Illinois taxpayers are funding it. And when you ask, again, the average person who will say, well, I'm not super comfortable with it being illegal, but I really think that there need to be guardrails about times in which a woman can have them, and the number of times a particular woman can have one. These were supposed to be for emergencies and only done in very extreme circumstances and very early in the pregnancy. I'm not saying that's not where I am morally. I don't want to give your listeners a misimpression.
Right.
However,
so, Mary, look, we only have a few seconds left, but I wanted to mention that the Ethics and Public Policy Center also put out a whole story about the abortion drugs, and they are 11% of the times they end up in serious complications. And yet those abortion drugs now readily available on our college campuses by law have to be.
Yes, that's absolutely correct because of a law Pritzker signed 6 months ago. You're right, Jeannie.
All right, we got to run. Thanks so much for
Thanks for having me.
You
God
bet.
bless you. Bye-bye.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
News. I'm Gianna Gelosi. There has been no public sign of a response to NBC Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's message to her mother's kidnapper.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She's 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile.
Authorities believe Nancy Guthrie was taken from her Tucson, Arizona home against her will. She was last seen Saturday night. President Trump spoke at a prayer breakfast in D.C. this morning.
You know, I've done more for religion than any other president.
Adding,
all of these good things I'm doing, including for religion. You know, religion's back now hotter than ever before. I mean, I have to tell you.
So he says they're planning a big gathering at the National Mall in the America 250 celebration to rededicate one nation under God. America is listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
This afternoon, expect a mix of sun and clouds with a few flurries possible. The temperature will reach a high of 31. Tonight, there may be some freezing drizzle later on, leading to cloudy conditions. Be cautious of icy patches as the low dips to 27. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then they help you do more with it. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Stay tuned for a special message from Angel Dad Joe Abraham about his daughter Katie.
Put yourself in my shoes. I just spent my first Christmas without Katie. My daughter was murdered by an illegal immigrant Governor Pritzker protected. Imagine her final breaths, knowing that you would have given your life for hers, but you didn't have the chance. Put your child in Katie's shoes. Think of the unfulfilled dreams, the unrealized joys, and the permanent loss. I'm not a political guy, but when politicians unleash violent criminals, we all need to get involved. We can do better, and we must do better. Ted Dabrowski would have protected Katie, and he'll protect your children the way I wish someone had protected mine.
I'm Ted Dabrowski, and I approve this message.
40,000 people. That's enough to pack Wrigley Field. I'm talking about 40,000 people who realized hip and knee surgery wasn't their only option. There has to be another way. Guess what? There is. They found it at QC Kinetics, an alternative to surgery. I know this because I've met these patients. They're moving better and hurting less thanks to QC Kinetics' advanced regenerative treatments. Surgery isn't always the answer. Do your research and talk with my friends at QC Kinetics. They offer natural treatments backed by real science. They will activate your body's natural healing power. Safe, natural, non-surgical. Osteoarthritis only gets worse, so don't wait. Get started this month. 40,000 people can't be wrong. Before you choose surgery, talk with QC Kinetics and tell them Dan Prof sent you. That's me. Call today, 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics, 312-827-6261.
LabCorp Early Development Laboratories Incorporated has an opening for a remote IT senior manager. Job duties include assisting internal business and IT partners, manage IT involvement in audits, inspections, contract reviews, client questionnaires, required for information and proposals, and other compliance initiatives. 100% remote role, can work anywhere within the U.S. Approximately 20 to 30% domestic and international travel. This position requires a bachelor's degree in life sciences, computer systems, technology, or a related field, and at least 10 years of progressive experience as an IT quality manager, IT quality analyst, validation analyst, or validation engineer, or related role working within an audit compliance function. In the alternative, at least a master's degree in life sciences, computer systems, technology, or a related field, and at least 8 years of experience. Salary range is $176,904 to $200,000 per year. Send resume to labcorphold@labcorp.com and reference job code MB102025.
We are the entertainment you love and information that shapes your day. We are your lifeline. We are your companion. We are broadcasters. Text radio to 52886 and let Congress know you depend on your local radio stations. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, so why are University of Illinois football games broadcast in Mandarin?
6,000 Chinese nationals are enrolled at the University of Illinois. Foreign students are displacing American kids, plain and simple.
2 or 3 times as many Chinese students than I have had domestic students.
We're providing an ecosystem for the Chinese Communist Party.
You got a smart kid, and you think you're going to get them into, a top university in this country, like you are fooling yourself.
That's the latest from our brother in sound, the former President Trump senior advisor, Steve Cortez. He joins us. Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
Amy, I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so Jeannie and I, we've been watching clips of your new documentary that's out on social media today. It's on Instagram, it's on YouTube, it's on X. So tell us about this China's college takeover.
Yes, and I do highlight for your audience will be particularly interested in the University of Illinois, but of course it's a national problem. But it first started coming to my attention because I've got so many friends in the Chicago area who have really exceptional kids, young adults who have really succeeded in high school, got 35s out of 36 in the ACT, take all the APs, got 4.0s, can't get into Illinois. All right, so, okay, what the heck's going on here? That was the first thing. Then I found out about the Mandarin football games, which I thought was just ludicrous. And then lastly, I saw Mark Andreessen, big-time tech titan, somebody who's gotten pretty involved in politics lately and really moving to the right, thankfully, incredibly successful tech titan, went to University of Illinois. And I saw an interview of him where he talks about he was a middle-class kid. He says, I wouldn't get into U of I today. He says between the DEI and the international kids. And so all of that together said, okay, I've got to expose this and do a documentary on it. And so that's what I've done. Now it's out today. It's 28 minutes long, the whole thing. So it's a short documentary. But what I use is Illinois as I think perhaps the worst example of a national trend, which is that we are prioritizing foreigners broadly over American citizens. We're taking opportunities away from American young adults. We're paying for this, by the way, for this privilege of taking opportunity away from American kids. But then on top of that, even worse, there's a massive cohort, 300,000 Chinese nationals. Why are we educating our enemy? Why are we willingly inviting in spies and saboteurs? And that's not just my opinion, by the way. We know that's happening. For example, conviction at IIT, Illinois Institute of Technology, of a Chinese spy who was a student at Illinois Tech. Students just arrested at University of Michigan trying to bring bioweapons into the United States. So it's dangerous. It's unjust. It doesn't prioritize our young people, and I want to expose it. I want to get people mad and hopefully drive them to action against U of I and elsewhere.
All right.
Well, hey, listen, you know what? Tom Cotton was on with Laura Ingraham last night on Fox News, and this is just a short clip of what he had to say about Chinese students in America.
Senator Cotton, I asked the president about this a few months ago, but he's very committed to the idea of having Chinese students in the United States, as many as 600,000. Researchers, academic institutions have access to all sorts of agents, chemicals, nuclear engineering, so forth. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, Laura, I think seats at our universities and colleges should go first to American students. And then if we want to bring in international students, better bring them in from friendly nations. If we're going to accept Chinese nationals at all into our universities and colleges, frankly, they need to be coming here to study things like the Federalist Papers and the Lincoln Douglas debates, not biotechnology and artificial intelligence and quantum computing.
So, Steve, I mean, it is a real national security risk, but you know what? It's so important to University of Illinois' bottom line that back in 2018, they took out a 3-year, $1.2 million insurance policy against a decrease in Chinese students attending their university. That's how desperate they are for this Chinese money, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, for dirty Chinese Communist Party money. By the way, I didn't know that until you posted that, so thank you for that information. I would have put it in my documentary. I didn't get it in time from you, but that's important to know.
Do a sequel.
Right? Yeah, that's right. But that's how dependent they are. That's disgusting. And by the way, I do want to address this concern, though, of, well, can the schools survive? Because President Trump brings that up. And listen, I don't often disagree with President Trump, but he's wrong on this, okay?
Yes,
he's just
he
wrong.
is.
And I think we can lead him to a better place, right? And we're criticizing him, by the way, from a position of admiration. We're not Trump critics. But he says these schools will go out of business. Well, first of all, the Chinese overwhelmingly are coming to very selective elite schools, and U of I is one of them, by the way. They can absolutely survive and, in fact, thrive if you look at the Ivy League schools, given their endowments, without the Chinese students, but they're going to have to make some hard choices. Maybe their coddled faculty, Marxist faculty, can't quite make six figures for teaching a class and a half each semester. Maybe they're going to have to get rid of some of the frivolities, but these schools are not going to go out of business, first of all. So that's the first point. But I would also say, if you are dependent on Chinese communist money for your very survival, then you probably should go out of business, right? But that's not going to happen at U of I. It's not going to happen at Northwestern, University of Chicago, or Harvard or Stanford. And by the way, we give even more money. This is something a lot of folks don't understand. We give even more money as taxpayers, even more subsidies to the private schools than we do to the public ones. So this is a nationwide problem. Now, I think public schools should have a particular onus and obligation to serve the students of their state. The flagship school of Illinois should be serving Illinois students.
It's a land-grant university. That's exactly what it was designed to do. That's why it was given permission and all that land to educate Illinoisans. That's why it goes back to the mission. But, the one thing I want to dispel, too, is the idea that our universities are suffering and they don't have enough money. The state higher education executive officers put out reports on our financial funding across all the universities writ large. Illinois is number one in the amount of state support to its universities per full-time equivalent. Number one by a long shot. We're almost $25,000 per full-time equivalent. And nobody's even close. Nobody's not even in that ballpark. And so, you know why part of the problem is? 40% of that money goes to pay pensions. That's where it goes. It goes to pay pensions. And so people need to dispel this idea that we need more money for education, higher ed. No, you don't. No, you don't. Right. Number one in the entire country.
Right. It's an important point, exactly. So it's what are you doing with those resources, right? And part of what they're doing, again, is catering to international students. And I want to also make this point because I think this is important. I didn't know this until I started doing the research. It is true, of course, that they want these full-pay kids, and it's effectively the Chinese Communist Party paying, right? All of these children, and I'm not blaming the young people, by the way. It's not their fault. And a lot of them, by the way, get forced by their parents, by their superiors back in Beijing to effectively become agents of the CCP in the United States. So, I'm not blaming the young people. I'm blaming us. I'm blaming administrators at U of I, politicians in Springfield, politicians in Washington, D.C. For allowing this. But one thing I found out is, believe it or not, these universities are actually pretty aggressive at offering their own aid. So these students can't get federal financial aid. They're not eligible. But they can get aid from the schools, and they do. And in some cases, very generously so. That's how anxious the schools are to have them. So they want them financially. But I also think there's something even darker going on, and that is that these administrators and these faculties of these schools, they hate the United States, and they are very willing and, in fact, eager to invite in a giant cohort of enemies of the United States because it makes them feel noble. They think they're doing something enlightened and sort of, globally oriented. But we as citizens, I think, have to stand up and say, hold on a second.
Well, I mean, the University
of Illinois exists to serve our children.
Yeah, no, the University of Illinois, I think they still have James Kilgore, who participated in a murder and hid out for 26 years, was finally captured in Africa and did 6 years, and now he's on the faculty. How nice is that?
Well, my alma mater, Georgetown, which gets a crazy amount of financial aid from the government, I shouldn't say financial aid, of taxpayer aid from the government, in part because it's right there in Washington and able to siphon, incredibly well from the people. Georgetown has Anthony Fauci on the faculty. How do you think that makes me feel? He belongs in jail, not at Georgetown. But the fact is, and by the way, Georgetown, over a third foreign, over a third international. And that'd be fine if they didn't take any federal money. But guess what? They feed at the trough and then cater to foreign kids.
Well, how does U of I compare to other schools when it comes to Chinese nationals? I mean, did you compare
one of the
that
top in the country, if not?
Yeah, numerically.
Because my son goes to
it's the
Georgia
second
Tech, and there's a very large contingent of Chinese nationals there.
Percentage-wise, it's not at the highest, but numerically, it is the second highest. And here's the other thing: we don't have definitive numbers. All right, and this is one of the frustrations of doing the doc is, you have to rely on estimates. We don't really know. It's not like there's a central database, right, where we know exactly how many. I saw credible estimates that there's as many as 400,000 Chinese students here. I think there's at least 300,000. I think that's pretty, reasonable to say. We do know, thankfully, U of I was forced to provide the data, so we know they have almost 6,000 Chinese nationals there. That is the second most in America to USC. So not surprisingly, the West Coast are where you generally find bigger numbers. But that's what also shocked me is, generally it's West Coast, and then kind of the Ivies, it's Columbia and Harvard. And then if you look at the entire interior of the United States, there's not that many Chinese students except for Champaign-Urbana. That also grabbed me and said, okay. Now, by the way, it is a testament to the history of U of I that they want to go there, right? They want to go to the school that Mark Andreessen attended, that Larry Ellison went to, that really invented the internet as we know it. Al Gore didn't, his claims notwithstanding. No, there's been incredible advances in technology over the years that we should all be proud of as Illinoisans. Or for me, a former Illinoisan. But this institution is being totally corrupted and totally directed to the service of foreigners, and in this case, foreigners who are from an enemy state that has never hid its intentions for the United States. Because think about in the best case scenario, they come to U of I, they take those skills, they then go back to strengthen our adversary in Beijing. That's sort of the best case scenario. Okay, the worst case is they're here to spy, and they're here to steal from the United States. And there is critical technological research going on right now at University of Illinois, University of Michigan, all of these research institutions, land-grant schools. Why in the world would we invite? It would be like inviting the Nazis in the 1930s. Hey, send all your sons and daughters over here to go to school in the United States right before World War II. That would have made zero sense. Didn't happen, thankfully. Why are we doing it now?
So I want to know how you found these Mandarin broadcasters. Are they students there at U of I? Because that clip is pretty funny.
They are.
I didn't know the Chinese embraced football so badly.
Right. Well, and hey, kudos to them for that. Obviously, I love football, and if you're going to be in America, please get into Illini football. But no, and it might at first seem sort of humorous, but I think when you think about it more, and then when you watch it and listen to it, I think it's appalling, actually, right, that we have such a big cohort of Chinese. And if you talk to anybody who's been there lately to Champaign, they will tell you, there is a legit Chinatown, right, where all of the restaurants, all the products, all the language is in
Absolutely
Chinese.
there is.
Yeah, and at first that might seem sort of, oh, isn't that enlightened and wonderful? Well, not really when you consider who the CCP is, what kind of enemy it is to our way of life. And when you consider, again, most importantly of all, the national security stuff's key, but also that really smart kids from Chicago, from Rockford, Illinois, from Danville, can't get in to their state flagship university. I heard so many stories, and by the way, so many stories, this was interesting to me, of Asian Americans, of Americans of Asian descent, Koreans, Chinese, whatever, their parents came over here, and now their kids can't get into U of I because a kid from the old country is taking that spot instead of, Tommy Kim from DuPage County, who has unbelievable credentials and can't get in. And by the way, is going to go next door to Purdue.
Well, there's
for his STEM degree.
There's another little bit of issue here. My son graduated from U of I in 2014, electrical engineering. And first of all, he was the anomaly at the graduation ceremony. He's the only one that you didn't have to put the phonetic pronunciation on the back of the card about how to say his Matthew Ives. That one you could understand.
Ives?
No,
right.
it was ridiculous. Okay, but he also complained about the fact that all the TAs were foreigners. You could not understand them. It was a
very similar
struggle,
situation.
an absolute struggle for him to get the help that he needed on his lesson plans because it was really hard to understand the TAs in front of him because they're all foreigners.
Yeah. Well, and listen, there's this ridiculous misconception out there, and I think a lot of academics have pushed it, unfortunately, that somehow, Americans aren't smart, right? Or that we can't do STEM. And that's just ridiculous. If you start looking at the data, okay, it's just blatantly not true if you look at these statistics. And I think, honestly, if you're just honest in your life and think about the people you know. But what is true is we're not giving enough opportunities to these folks. And so I highlight in my documentary, he's really an inspiring guy, a guy named Tony Robinson, U of I graduate from the south side of Chicago. He was a single mom, young black kid, and who grew into a young man, very smart, got himself a scholarship to U of I, majored in chemistry, became an industrial chemist. He's now effectively retired into teaching chemistry because he's just such a giving guy and he wants to pass it on to the next generation. Super patriotic, loves the Illini. He was heartbroken, and he said, you know what? I don't know if Tony Robinson gets in Illinois today. Yeah. And what a shame that would be, because U of I used to create people like him. And now, instead, it's creating perhaps those kinds of people, but in Beijing, not in the United States, and certainly not in the state of Illinois. And that's not right. We need to prioritize our young people. We need to protect our national security. And these coddled universities, these pampered universities, they need to be brought in line. It's critical that it happens. And again, I think Illinois, there's a lot of bad examples. I think Illinois was the worst for a variety of reasons. And I hope it angers Illinois citizens, and I hope it drives them to action, to pressure the university itself as well as politicians to say this is ridiculous. I mean, and to me, the number from China should be 0. It should be bagel, none. No Chinese nationals in the United States. The number of foreign students should be severely limited. Do we want some geniuses? Perhaps, for some cultural diversity, and fine. But let's 1%, 2%. Not 30% like it is at so many of these selective schools. 1 or 2% international, no Chinese, no adversary nations, no Iranians, no North Korea.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that to me makes sense. And let's educate Americans. Let's use our resources to empower our people. Let's prioritize our young minds. And when we do, I think we're going to reap results. And hopefully we're going to also turn these places once again into institutions that serve the civic duty of the United States and serve patriotism, which they used to. Now I know it's a tall order to get back there because we've got decades of momentum the other way, but let's at least get started on that process.
All right. The documentary is called China's College Takeover. Stephen Cortez, thank you so much for joining us. It is out today on social media, Instagram, YouTube, X, and Facebook. Anywhere else we can see it?
Yes, my site, CortezInvestigates.com, Cortez with an S at the end. And ladies, congratulations on the show. Fantastic news.
Well, thanks for being on our inaugural week. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
All right.
Coming up, the indoctrination of our kids continue. We'll explain.
Make your voice heard. Call or text The Real Story at 312-642-5600.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait, and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
With over 50 years of precision tooling, that's a lot of job shop work and custom parts. And it's why Bruscher Machining is the go-to CNC turning and machining company in Chicagoland. If you have a custom project, whether it's a single prototype or a short-run production of a few thousand pieces, give them a call today for your free custom quote. 630-876-1661. That's 630-876-1661. Or visit BruscherMachining.com. That's BRUCHER machining.com. They also provide heat treating, balancing, plating, and surface coating, welding and fabrication, plus project management. Bruscher Machining guarantees to consistently deliver high-quality parts and solutions on time for reasonable prices. Yeah, everyone says that, but the proof is in the tooling. Stop by to meet their team of seasoned pros and tour the facility located in West Chicago. To learn more about how CNC machining can turn your tough project into an operational reality, contact Bruscher Machining today for your free custom quote. 630-876-1661.
AM 560.
The Answer.
312-642-5600. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's start with Michael on the South Side. Good morning.
Good morning, Amy. Good morning, Jeannie. Thank you both for taking my call, and congratulations on your new show. I wish you both continued success. I think that both of you speak truth to power, and you both are very courageous. So I wish you both the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
All right.
Steve Cortez was right about the infiltration of Chinese students into American colleges and universities. And there's another point worth mentioning. The Chinese government funded these Confucius Institutes in American colleges and universities all across the country, just to spread, their doctrine and their propaganda. And it's just really unfortunate that these American schools are all about the money these days, and they're just willing to take it from anybody.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Michael.
Yep.
Money
Thank you.
makes the world go round. Well, we got a bunch of Bobs here. Let's go to Bob in Indiana. Good morning.
Yeah, hello. I'm not going to go through the same thing Michael said, so ditto, ladies.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I was just calling in, listening to Steve. I worked on a project in a previous career, the Abilene Project, which is kind of a consortium of all the universities sharing information. And the NOC, the National Operations Center, the hub in the beehive, if you will, is Indiana University. And just within the last couple of years, if you can imagine all the universities sharing information, the National Operations Center is at Indiana University, Bloomington. And there is so many Chinese people there and even working in the NOC. And they recently, I think it was the FBI came in and arrested a couple of the professors because of, whatever they were doing, nefarious things, I'm sure. But kind of scary, though, like all our information getting pumped into one place. And there is a multitude of, characters there that probably don't have, very good opinions of the United States.
Well, it's not even that. They're actually instructed to come over here and spy and to steal technology. That's part of what they're doing. They're told that that's part of their duties.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I knew a guy at Purdue. He was a double major, computer science and accounting. And he got a job immediately out of Purdue for the DOJ. And he was from China. His father owned a huge factory there. And it was hilarious because I met him at a cigar store, and he was always there. And I'm like, well, what do you do? And he's like, I work for the Department of Justice. And you can tell in 2 seconds that he wasn't somebody from the United States. He had a very thick dialogue. And they said, they put me on permanent suspension because they found out that I was from China.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Thanks for the info,
Appreciate
Bob.
it.
Appreciate it.
And let's recap our top story, the breaking news about early voting.
Yeah, so early voting is suspended in many counties around the state. It was supposed to all start today, but because of a pending lawsuit over whether or not Joe Severino should be on the Republican ballot as a governor candidate, they have suspended early voting. So it's not happening in Chicago, Cook County, Kane County, and DuPage County, and probably some other counties. We're trying to get the full list of that.
Because Severino needed 5,000 valid signatures.
That's right. And there was a court case over it. There was a challenge to his signature verification, and he lost. And so he was taken off the ballot, and now he is going up to the appellate court, which is the final decision maker on this. And that decision should be out next week, and then you can resume all of the early voting.
I know. I'm not an early voter, Jeannie.
I know. I used to not be, but now I do.
Because the Democrats do it, and that was
know.
their playbook.
Yeah.
So
their playbook is vote by mail.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
That's
Vote
what
by
they
mail.
play. Yep.
Okay.
Well, we've got a lot to cover tomorrow, so another full show tomorrow.
Yep. Thanks so much for listening to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson. You can follow us on X at Amy Jacobson or at Jeannie Ives. Have a wonderful day. We'll catch up tomorrow.
Is your dog a picky eater, scratching all the time, eating grass, or licking their paws until they're raw? If so, your dog's trying to tell you something. Greetings, naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, founder of Rough Greens here, and you may not know what your dog means, but I do.